Okay, in this second video we're going to carry on having a look at Windows Forms, and we're going to explore the properties of our controls a little further. I've just created a new Forms application here, and I'm just going to drag on a button control here, and again I'm just going to resize it a little bit. If you remember from last time, we've got a couple of choices here. We can right click on the control and click Properties if this isn't open here, and I'm just going to undock my Properties window and just leave it to the side here. So what we're going to have a look at is the properties of various controls. Now, first thing to bear in mind is these properties change depending on the control that's clicked on. So for example, if I click on the form, you can see I'm displaying the form properties. If I click on the button, I'm displaying the button's properties. I can manipulate these properties in two ways. I can either change them directly in the properties window here, or I can change them in the code that lives behind. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and change the text of my button, and I'm just going to type in example button, and you can see that that property changes the text on the button again. I'm going to scroll up towards the top here, and you can see there's also a name. Now the name is different from the text that appears on the button. This is the name that you would access in the code. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put BTN to stand for button, and I'm just going to call that example button. So I've given the button a name now. There are also other properties I could change. If I have a look down the list, you can see there are things like size, so I could specify a custom size. So I might change the button to 200 pixels by 200 pixels there. I could change the colour of the button by finding back colour property here, and again I can just change that by opening up the dialog and choosing the colour that I would like. So that's how we adjust the properties normally, just with the properties window. But how about if you want to change those properties behind? Well, it's pretty straightforward to do that as well. To demonstrate this, what I'm going to do is create another event that we looked at in video 1, and we're going to have the button change slightly when the event runs. So I'm just going to go to the lightning bolt again, which is for our events. I'm going to go to my click event here, and I'm just going to call this change button text. So this is going to run an event that is going to call this function. So if I just press enter, we go to the code behind, and you can see the little function here that we wrote in the previous video. The function we want to work at today is this one. So we've got the change button text. So what I'm going to do is access the properties of the button within this block of code. So if you remember, we gave my button a new name, and I always prefix them with BTN for button, and you can see that here IntelliSense has already identified that we've named this button. I'm just going to click on that to auto-complete that, and then I can use the dot syntax to bring up all of the properties, and you can see here all the properties that we just looked at, like back color, size, are all there for us to access. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to access the text property, but this time in the code window, and I'm going to change that dynamically here. So this is going to be done at runtime. I'm just going to say button text changed. Oops, correct that spelling mistake there. Okay. Again, if you think back to the start of the course, we've got here an assignment statement. So just as we'd assign to a variable, here we're just assigning this string to the property text, and you can see that it's expecting a string, because if I just hold over the top of this here, you can see there that it's telling me that this property expects a string, so I'm passing it a string across like so. So now hopefully if I run that, okay, we've got an error here. Oh, we've got a bracket error. Okay, so let's just run that through, sorry, my mistake. And we can see that if we just open this up, we've got our button, and if we click on the button, you can see here that the text has changed. So this button has run the event which is called our function just behind here. So I'll just stop that for a second just to show you that again. I'm just going to break point there. If I just run that through again, you can see, let's just do that again, press my button, and you can see that here this little function has been called, and you can see here that my text has been assigned to the property.